morning. Just get some of the, trying to make the adjustments. Strange light day. That'll do. It's good. Some contrast. Oh, slowly waking up. I think it was a major shift last night. Major reality shift timeline thing going on. I was kind of expecting it actually, with the new moon and Eclipse thing going on yesterday, over the weekend. I was expecting quite a significant shift to occur. So yeah, definitely, if you're one of these people that is conscious of these shifts, or you are sensitive enough to things in such a way that you know something's changed, or that you've noticed the energy going around. Let me just turn this down. If you notice the energy going around and and it affects you. It affects me. I notice it all the time. Well, all the time. Some days are stronger than others, but oh, pardon me. I apologise. Just got to say, yeah. So there was I believe there was a shift last night through this new moon energy, combined with the eclipse, solar eclipse. I think it's just a partial solar eclipse somewhere on Earth, but those are. Even a partial one is a significant astrological event, so you take that into accordance with the fact that it was also, happening concurrently with a new moon. And then, so a few days either side of it are going to feel a bit energetic, and a lot of stuff's going to be coming through. I think the new moon's about things clearing, making way for the new moon. So that's kind of what's happening. So if I would imagine any kind of shadow work that we've been doing at the moment, any kind of self-improvement that's very much been about facing our own internal struggles, and programming in particular will be clearing, and there may even be some physiological changes as well. I noticed, it was yesterday or the day before, it was almost like I was being scanned. I felt like I was being scanned, because it was as if I got these random pains occurring in different parts of my body here and there. And it was almost like, and I brought my attention to those pains, a memory was attached to it, the memory of how I injured that particular area in the past. It was almost as if somebody was cycling through all of the damage and injury that I've suffered on this vehicle, and my attention was being drawn to them. I had a pain in my abdomen where I had my appendix removed, and in my ankle where I twisted it, and it was almost as if I was being cycled through some kind of, feeling pain in all these different areas, And it was like, whoa, what's going on here? So yeah, I think a lot of something I'm going to keep an eye on, especially around the next new moon, or in the run up to the next new moon, because if the new moon is about, I think lunar phases, lunar cycles, particularly for cancers, are really important to follow. I'm a Cancerian, so I think it's important to follow the moon phase, and every week or two, there seems to be a different energetic shift going on as the moon phases round. At least for me, anyway. And it makes sense to me that a new moon is about clearing out the old and making way for the new. So that's the kind of energy this this new moon eclipse weekend has had for me. My mind, my monkey mind, has been a little bit more active now and again. I've been trying to meditate, and I've struggled through meditations I would normally find a bit easier to deal with, because my mind kept being drawn to all of these different thoughts, all of these different memories, many memories just coming up very randomly and seemingly out of the blue, things I haven't thought about for months, stuff I haven't recalled for a long time. And it was interesting the last few days. So that's how the weekend has gone for me. I wake up this morning and my microwave clock is totally out of sync, where it was fine last night because I used it last night, so I remember distinctly it was all fine. This morning I wake up and it's like 11:47 on the microwave. I'm thinking, why, what? And so then it wasn't until I checked my phone and I saw, okay, something's happened, because my phone was saying, what, 8:47 or 8, something like that, somewhere around 8 o'clock this morning, and it was almost like, whoa, what's going on? This like the whole clock was just totally out of sync. It didn't even make sense. Why was it on 11? What? So when did that happen? How did that happen? So now I have to put my clock back to normal again. I did think I was having a couple of periods of missing time and stuff. But I was asleep last night, so it's interesting. I mean, the alternative, the other thing I considered was maybe there was a power cut. I mean, that would be the more reasonable thing to consider, wouldn't it? Yeah, I did consider that too, but I don't know. I'm following my own personal narrative, my own path, my own journey, and I've noticed as I've gone along that you can begin to associate certain things going on in your own life with certain events or situations. And whenever I've begun to associate my microwave going out of sync with having periods of lost time, and other completely far out ideas like, I don't know, abduction or that kind of shit. But okay, of course I'm going to think of that kind of stuff, because I'm having supernatural experiences on a regular basis. I'm seeing things in the sky that don't make sense, and these things that I've been seeing have been gradually getting more and more vivid and more obvious, to the point now where they're becoming quite easy to see, and I think I would imagine many of the people who have been following me, the very few of them that have, that do, I believe that they would also have noticed how the sky seems to have changed in that regard. You know, things are becoming more clear. Now, I'm seeing that as a combination of a few things, like in terms of my own personal ascension, my own personal consciousness awakening, and then also in regards to the collective consciousness and the world, Gaia, and the processes that we're all going through together. If we are going through a kind of ascension process of some kind, whatever that may be, if we really are experiencing these new wonderful things and developing gifts and skills and abilities, which I'm noticing, then I would say it's part of the course. You know, it's like we have to change ourselves. We have to come halfway, at least. We have to be prepared to make that compromise to meet this event halfway, at least. And the event itself is happening too. So we are literally prepping ourselves mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and physically. And for me, the main focus has been primarily on resolving emotional and mental disturbances, and integrating everything into a more complementary way of being, so that my art, my the thing that I do with my life as an artist, is also tied up intimately with my mental health and my spirituality, and naturally through creating it, my physicality. So all of these things are combining into a way of life for me now, a way of life that's actually serving me better than the way I was living before. But I also have to be kind to myself, because and I think everybody needs to be kind to themselves, because we're probably going to be experiencing a lot of turmoil and changes and challenges to our life as we go along it, that's life, right? So that's the point. But particularly during this process of ascension, I suppose, we're also making efforts to prepare ourselves and become the best version of ourselves that is possible, and that means the process is accelerated, because not only are we moving forward to the halfway point, but that is happening because in order to meet with the ascension issue, the process. If we can meet halfway, then we can get there, we can do it. Pardon me. So yeah, I don't remember very much of my dreams last night. I know that I had some. They're probably quite epic. I seem to sleep right through, which is unusual for me. So that would also then I would then correspond that with it being a new moon eclipse and the fact that I've experienced lots of time. That kind of thing. You are guilty of the good you are not doing. Is that possible? Because, I mean, there are lots of different ways I could be doing good, aside from sitting on my ass at my desk every day. Even at home, I've developed the habit of getting up and sitting at my desk every day. It's almost unavoidable, you know. I do my work at my desk, and that's it. Almost everything is at my desk, so it's like I think one of my biggest issues now, personally, is the anxiety thing. The shut-in, the isolation, the need, the requirement for and the of being a hermit and being a recluse as a means of managing my mental health symptoms. It's become a way of life as well. I'll be honest though, I think I've always been this way, deep down. I spent a lot of time isolated and alone when I was a child, and and I think that then informed how I would live my life later on down the line, you know. I got so used to spending time alone and being in my own company that it's kind of developed a person who has a great issue with what the hell did I put? Oh, it's manifested in somebody who prefers to be alone most of the time and prefers to be in a state of relaxation and peace. You know, it's like, it's almost as if I wasn't physiologically designed to withstand the amount of stress and pressure that is imposed upon us by the reality around us that we agreed to, quite honestly. I don't agree to it anymore because it's caused me a great deal of stress. Now, I'm not going to deny that I am also my worst enemy, as I believe is the case for most human beings, that we often sabotage ourselves unknowingly. That, you know, one moment we can be thinking things are going fine, but one false move, one little slip up could end up causing a great deal of emotional turmoil, you know. So I found it quite difficult to maintain relationships and friendships over the years. I often found that if I wasn't assertive enough, that people would take advantage of me. And very often I would sit back and let people do that because I wanted to be liked and I wanted to have friends and I wanted to feel like I was part of something. But ultimately, even that feeling of being a part of something, the feeling of being, it's all bullshit, it's all fake crap anyway. It's like, you know what, the feeling of being, of feeling, all of those feelings of wanting to, it was always the wanting, they were never fulfilled. It was always I was always left feeling like, oh, I don't want to risk my, you know, losing out on being part of a group or or having friends. But I have to say, many friendships, particularly when I was younger, were quite meaningless, empty. And not on my side either. Mainly people just get what they want from you and then go away for a while. And then they crop back up again a bit further down the line. Take again what they want from you, and then they go away again. And it's like, okay, what am I, a freaking bank? Energy bank? I don't know. And I feel like I've had that all my life. So I've got to that point where I feel like I've had to protect myself. You know, like, here's a cancer without the shell. The crab, he never found one, he never developed a shell. So I've had to take so many blows over the years to build up a shell. And now I have to hide under it all the time. It's kind of insane. I'm hoping that this awakening situation will eventually lead to me conquering some of these issues, and for me, I guess this new year will be about facing that, trying to face the anxiety, confront it head on, and try to have a slightly better quality of life that involves, this is the thing, I don't know if I want to involve more people in my life. The more people in your life, the more variables and random things can occur, and then it's like, hang on, no. I don't want all of this stuff coming into my world. I want to try and get to a balanced, calm state of equilibrium and try to sustain it for a while, you know. And I need to be able to sustain it for a while before I can go back out there and start interacting. It would be foolish of me to keep doing what I have been doing in the past, which is take some time out and start fresh, start from scratch, do it all again, and it happen again. You know, which has been my experience. I've gone to university too many times. You know, gave it a try. I was determined to get that piece of paper. I wanted to stay within the educational system. I loved the inspiring atmospheres of those places, the energy. But then the last time I went, it was too much. My anxiety was just getting to a point of intolerance, and to the point where I couldn't even travel on the underground or on buses or anything now, because the amount of people is so overwhelming for me. It feels like I'm drowning in it. That's not really a way to try and find and sustain peace and equanimity. So I've had to then, I don't know, I think I went for a much needed process of limiting myself in ways which are to benefit me later on. You know, I needed to reduce the variables, the chaos in my life, so I could actually hear the voice of my intuition and the voice of my inner knowing. And that involved having to quieten down so much crap. And now I'm here, and I want to stay this way. I want to stay in a place of calm and connectedness. So going back to the world in the way it is not an option. Continuing to functioning the way I did in the world as it is now is not an option. I feel like I have to wait things out at it. In the meantime, what do I do? Work on myself. Intense, day-to-day, working on the self. Try to meditate regularly. I'm not the best meditator. I'm a bit ADHD at times. Well, I say that, but I do have a diagnosis of it. So I have to be... trying to meditate is hard. Because trying to quiet that monkey mind down is especially hard. But I'm getting there. And sometimes it's become quite easy. Although recently, with this, in the lead up to the new moon, it wasn't so easy. But I've noticed that the comings and goings, like a tide, you know, back and forth, ebbs and wanes, waxes and wanes, whatever, you know. It's and I think that's the benefit of knowing the lunar calendar, the lunar cycles, knowing what you're like during each phase. Usually you can work it out, you know, full moon or new moon are both particularly highly energetic times now. I never noticed before, but it wasn't, and then 2 years ago was when I first noticed it, when I had my first full moon issue, and there was like full moon, lots of energy, all this psychic stuff going on. Some major changes, you know. And then every full moon thereafter was the same. Intense, energetic, a lot of nausea, a lot of dizziness and vertigo, high-pitched ringing in the ears, that kind of thing. Then that would ease off, but then it'd come back again, the next full moon. Then I noticed, maybe halfway through last year, 2018, perhaps a bit, early 2018, I noticed that the new moon had also become an intense period of time, and then I noticed how that escalated, and then it's become almost every moon cycle now has an intense energy about it. But, you know, the full moon and the new moon in particular, so time to bring it to do. Anyway, I think I've said all I want to say, really. I wasn't even planning to say anything, but for posterity, really, which is kind of the point of cloud therapy, I can use this as a record of my thoughts as well. I have done in the past, I still do, and I will continue to do so, but it doesn't matter if people aren't listening or watching. This is about posterity. This is about having a record of my process, as well as the goings on up there, this evolution towards something. I don't know what it is, but I think the sky is reflecting that. We get to look. The sky gives us an interpretation of what's happening inside ourselves, individually and collectively, and could be many reasons why. Could be a Nibiru up there, there could be a Skydome Atlantis thing up there, there could be cloaked ships, there could be any of these things, but at the end of the day, I think what's really important is how we each, on an individual basis, connect with the all, you know, with what we're experiencing. That relationship is, above all else, one of the most important things. I guess I must really subconsciously love cold tea, because I make a cup of tea and then I leave it out and it gets cold. The extra noise going on in the background will be relating to so there was a school temporarily based in a set of buildings behind this block of flats, and right next door. So there's at present a huge crane type thing going on, where they're now moving these temporary buildings, huge giant concrete blocks, or I don't know what they are. They're like individual chalets placed one on top of the other, so they're like blocks. So they're being pulled down and moved by the looks of it, which means, which confirms things for me, that the last 6 months have been so peaceful. And part of that is because there have been no children. The kids obviously have moved back to wherever it is that they were meant to be, so Gabriel's college. And now we get a bit more peace and quiet. So let's hope that whatever's going on in the space behind us isn't going to be so disruptive or prolonged in any way. It makes me worry about the birds, because I mean, all of this extra activity is probably going to put them off, or piss them off quite significantly, you know. So. Anyway, happy Monday, 10 AM. Everyone else has got a normal life, so I don't expect anyone will be around to hear this. But here you go. I know my friends up there will be hearing this. I know they'll be paying attention. I know that my thoughts and my pleas are not falling on deaf ears. Anyway, I'm going to mute out, but I'll leave the background noise in. If I have anything to say, I'll come back in again. So, speak later.